Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and today we're going to be taking an early look at the brand new LEGO Nike Dunk set. It's an $100 LEGO set celebrating all things Nike, and let's jump in right now. This is the brand new Nike Dunk X LEGO set, and yes, that is the official name of this set. It literally is called X LEGO Set. It retails for $100 and it is set number 43008, coming with 1,180 pieces and one exclusive minifigure, featuring really nicely detailed dual molded legs, printing on the side of the legs, and an exclusive mold created for the head, which is basically a giant basketball, which also doubles as a regular minifigure scale basketball that you can use to pose with your figures. It's a really interesting model, and for whatever reason, this is not the first time we've gotten a LEGO shoe. Previously, we got a LEGO Adidas shoe as well as a smaller version of it, and this is kind of a mid-scale. It doesn't look quite as good as the original set, but it's also around half the size for the shoe itself, so I definitely think that makes sense. Honestly, I like it a lot better as a collection of items as opposed to if they had put all of the budget into making it a $100 shoe, because we've already gotten that from LEGO and this at least provides something a little bit new. The lettering is very reminiscent of some of the logo sets that we've gotten in recent history, like the Marvel logo or the Star Wars logo, although these letters are a little bit larger than even those in some cases. It does come with a fully brick-built basketball with a Technic interior, utilizing some techniques we have seen on Lowell Spheres, but really just trying to do its own thing, and that comes with some pros and some cons, and it all is presented across a very flashy spring green backdrop with some white outlines along it as well to really just add to the color scheme of the set. Altogether, I feel like the presentation of the set is pretty solid. You've got the text, you've got the shoe, and the basketball, and all of it comes together to a really nice looking display. While the set might not be everyone's cup of tea, you can't deny that it is very competently built, especially given the scale that they were going for. I really like how the letters for Dunk kind of feel like they're slanted, like almost like they're jumping out of the frame. They are of course in the Nike style of font, which is impressive to see fully brick built, but then they are having this really cool backdrop of white and then a layer of green behind it, which is just a very vibrant use of colors. Altogether, the presentation is again really solid in terms of the composition of this piece, and it's really interesting seeing LEGO dive more into display models like this, especially for a theme like Nike, where if you asked me to make a Nike LEGO set, I honestly don't really know what I would have come up with. Like, I don't know, maybe a big shoe, or I could see a big basketball or a giant Nike logo, but this kind of combines all of the above. The set itself splits off into multiple different components, and it technically is a build together set, which means that you can have multiple people build the same model. You can take the basketball off and set that aside, remove the shoe, which isn't really even attached onto anything, and then of course you have the minifig as well. But first we'll take a look at the standalone logo. The one thing I will say about this set is, to be honest, it feels very corporate as a LEGO product. I don't know, the very fact that it has LEGO set in the name genuinely feels like they kind of wanted to make this feel like a Nike fan's first LEGO set. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it definitely also feels like this is not necessarily the most interesting build when it comes to actually having an expression out of LEGO bricks or trying to do something unique. It feels like a collection of very corporate sponsored LEGO and Nike items. I don't really know exactly if I'm phrasing that right or how to put my finger on it, but I think viewers will know what I mean by when I say that, because you have Dunk, which obviously is a big Nike slogan and a Nike logo type of thing, and you have the shoe and the basketball, and it just feels like you asked ChatGPT what are like 3 icons of Nike, and then they just threw them together into one set. Still, when you do look at the building techniques of the set, obviously it does not look good from the back at all. There is one viewing angle for the set, and it is from the front, which I guess makes sense when you have these very large text-heavy LEGO sets. They've been doing a lot more of this year, and I have to say it is very competently built. I think one of my favorite things is that this has a studs on the side base, where you can see that there are studs wrapping around the edge of the frame, and you have these sloped elements wrapping around the entire thing, which just makes it look really good as a build. I think that having that smooth base adds a lot to the presentation of the model. You can feel like that white is kind of just oozing out of the green, it's popping out, the letters are popping out even more from that, and I also like how the letters are alternating in different colors to really just add more character to the build. The shoe stand itself is a little awkwardly placed when the shoe is removed, but again, you can kind of pretend like it's not on there or just leave it off, and there are ways to modify it should you please. So altogether, I am actually really happy with the overall presentation representation of this text. I think the letters are really nicely done. It reminds me of some of the great and happy feelings that I had when building stuff like the Marvel logo or Star Wars logo, where there is something genuinely really satisfying about building text out of Lego. I don't know what it is, but it just feels really cool to put it together. But with that, I think we can move on to the shoe. And this is, again, as I said, not our first LEGO shoe by any means, but it definitely is one of the most unique ones that they've ever done. If you compare this against the last large-scale shoe they did, the Adidas Superstar, I remember being really impressed by the composition of that model, which retailed for $80 all the way back in 2021. I will say this definitely does not have the same level of detailing, curvature, or shaping, but it makes up for it by being a bit more of a playful model. It feels more like a play model of a shoe, or an approximation of what a shoe looks like, rather than trying to capture every single exact curve of a shoe. And obviously, a big part of that is that there is no difference between a left or a right shoe here. It is a perfectly symmetrical build. One thing I really like is how LEGO did choose to brick build the iconic Nike logo. That checkmark swoosh on the side just looks really good in LEGO form, and I think they used pretty much the perfect pieces to make that happen. This is taking advantage of some relatively newer LEGO elements like those curved pieces along the sides of the shoe itself, and just really taking full advantage of these new parts introduced in the system to really add on detail to the model. Some of these details are printed, like the LEGO and Nike logo on the top of the shoe, as well as the kind of holes in the sole of the shoe on the front and the back curvature of the shoe as well, but then some other details are not printed, like these stickered shoelaces, which actually use a brand new piece. This is the first time I'm seeing this piece be used in a LEGO set in general, but I haven't finished building all the June 1st sets, so I can't say for 100% sure this is a July new addition. I'd have to finish building my June 1st wave to know that, but it's actually really cool. It's a shorter version of the 1x3 slope we are so used to seeing, which is definitely going to be really useful, although I certainly hope it doesn't replace that other slope because they have very different curves. I think it's just meant to add on to it. In the back, you can remove a section on the back to store the minifigure inside the shoe itself. I like that it does have minifigure storage, although I do honestly wish that there was a more prominent way to display the minifigure in the set. The minifig is one of my favorite parts of the set. It looks really good, the detail is fantastic, and for the official placement to just be kinda tucked away inside the shoe is a little disappointing for me. I definitely would have preferred there was a more prominent way to put it, although I do like having the minifigure in the shoe itself, and I guess you can always just stick the minifig on the top of the basketball like I did. Altogether, despite the shoe not necessarily being the most advanced when it comes to the shaping or building techniques, I like how it does have some play features. You can remove the front for the shoelaces and swap out the green or the blue, or you can store the minifigure inside. And finally, that brings us to the last element of the set, which is the Nike basketball here. This is utilizing printed elements for the swoosh and LEGO brick logo, and I really like it. I was just having a chance to go around the Legoland Nike experience, and they had like badges with the same logo, so clearly this is a very massive marketing strategy for LEGO to implement here, which I think is just a very smart touch. The basketball itself is very mixed for me. I like a lot of the detailing, and especially how small it is. I'm genuinely really impressed by how they were able to capture the lines around a basketball at this scale. Unfortunately though, it is very wobbly. When you have it in your hand, it feels like it's not stable, and nothing will ever fall apart. It is genuinely built well enough that nothing is actually going to break, but it feels like it is going to break apart. And a lot of that is due to the internal structure of the build. You can see the Technic internals where it really feels like there's just a lot of wiggle room induced by the fact that everything is just attached by a single Technic axle. If they were to build this utilizing studs in the side techniques and actually having a system interior, I think it probably would have felt more stable, but it actually in practice would have been a little bit more fragile. So I get that they did some pros and cons there, and I think Technic was the best choice to depict this build, but again, it does feel a little more fragile than it should. And so, placing the basketball on the top of the logo, you have your finished set. And now I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the price. This set retails for $100 and comes with 1,180 LEGO pieces, which on paper actually seems pretty decent. It does come with a number of printed elements, the Nike logo on the front of the shoe, the Lego and Nike logo on the top of the shoe, a couple of curved printed elements on the back of the shoe, the front sole is printed, as well as the two curved Nike logos, as well as a really nicely detailed minifigure, which is one of the best detailed minifigures we have gotten all year, featuring a brand new mold for a basketball head. But altogether, is this set really worth $100? When all is said and done, I feel like I have $100 worth of LEGO in my hands, but I'm not sure if the average fan would want to spend $100 on a set like this unless they were an absolute die-hard fan of Nike. Moving to the minifig itself, I actually think the detailing and the color scheme is really clean. The dark blue looks really good. I love the star background on the jersey. It's a little strange to me how the front and back of the jersey have different numbers, like the 32 and 72. I don't really know what those are supposed to represent, but maybe if there is a die-hard Nike fan watching this review, you can let me know in the comments what the 32 and 72 are supposed to signify. Maybe they're important numbers in the Nike world, I just don't really know. The basketball itself is definitely the most interesting part to me. I can easily see them doing some sort of collectible minifigure that is a basketball player and utilizing this piece unprinted as a basketball. It's less functional than the previous LEGO basketball because that was literally made to be played with in the LEGO sports theme, but they've traded that for functionality. A minifigure can finally hold the basketball in one hand without it rolling off, and I think that is a really nice touch. Altogether, the minifig is definitely one of the standout pieces of the set, and I also really like how they didn't showcase it with quote-unquote orange skin showing anywhere, so you can literally just use this jersey for any other minifigure should you please. With that, I feel like we've summed up my thoughts on this set. It's certainly not necessarily the set for me because I've never been the biggest Nike fan in the world. Nothing against the company, I just never really was into the brand that much, but I can see somebody who really loves Nike just absolutely loving this set. And again, if you asked me if I had to make a LEGO Nike set, I don't really know what else I would have come up with other than this. It's a weird choice for an $100 LEGO set, and I'm really curious if it pays off or if people will just prefer to actually get the shoes. But with that, we have summed up my thoughts on the brand new LEGO set 43008 Nike Dunk X LEGO set. I cannot believe that's the official name of this set. Technically, this is the Nike Dunk X LEGO set. I don't really know. It's really weird. I can't even think of another time we had an official LEGO set with the words LEGO set in the title of the set. But again, it really speaks to the very corporatized nature of this product, where it feels like this is just the quintessential Nike LEGO product. Somebody said we need to make a Nike LEGO set, and they decided to put it in the name. That's all for this review. Hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned to Duckbricks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon, and bye for now.